What's up, everyone? How are we all doing? Welcome to tonight's late night agenda, 8:30 as always, and here am I a whole minute early. Kind of makes up for some of the stuff I've been late for, I hope. How are we all, ladies and gents? Loads to get through tonight. We'll talk about GINI Wijnaldum, and it looks like he's gone to Barca. Well, it's pretty much confirmed he's gone to Barca. His agent and his solicitor are over there today tying up the final details of his contract. We'll talk about Konate to Liverpool. We'll talk about Ozan Kabak. Loads of other stuff as well. Whatever you want to talk about. You know, as always, it's your show. And why is it that as soon as I start talking I always get a tickle in my throat like I need to cough? I don't know. Maybe I'm getting old. Maybe I'm unhealthy. I'm definitely unhealthy. Anyway, how are we all? What do you want to start off with tonight, ladies and gents? I mean, we could go around the GINI Wijnaldum stuff, maybe get the negative stuff out of the way, because it's frustrating, isn't it? It really is frustrating. Like, I mean, I like to sit here and I like to read the comments before we get going so I can get a flavour of what people want to talk about and how they're all feeling. And I see a lot of people rightly a bit disillusioned with what's going on with GINI Wijnaldum, and a bit disappointed that, I don't want to say at the club because I don't know why people are disappointed, but there's certainly an element of disappointment amongst those fans, because you could see what it meant to GINI the other day. You could see that the manager wants him to stay, the fan base wants him to stay. The only people apparently that didn't want him to stay were those more senior up at the club. Now, I think we're going to see something in the coming days and weeks come out around this scenario. There's been a little bit of talk that maybe Wijnaldum's extended family aren't happy at the way he'd been treated by Liverpool. And it seems, and again, I can't say this for a fact because I'm not in the room there talking with GINI Wijnaldum's representatives, but it's been put out there today in the media that maybe GINI is going to be getting less money at Barcelona than he was at Liverpool, or than he was being offered at Liverpool. Now, make sense of that one, ladies and gentlemen, because I can only assume it may be around contract length. I mean, we know Liverpool don't like to offer extended deals to people who are past the age of 30, and by extended I mean maybe 3-4 years. But as I've said before, GINI Wijnaldum's an anomaly to me with regards to this, because his fitness levels are undeniable, and he doesn't look like he's slowing down. And it's frustrating because he's going to Barca. It's done and dusted almost. His agents over there, solicitors over there, they're going through the final details. And we sit here a bit frustrated. Excuse me. It sticks in the throat a little bit, this one. I won't lie to you, folks. I mean, when you've got a player who so badly wants to stay at the club, a manager who so badly likes the guy, and fans who love him as well, I'm baffled. But all I can say is I hope that it's because we have something else lined up. Now, I will talk about Bissouma a little bit later on again, because, you know, there could be some good news on that front. But look, let's get in and see how you're all doing tonight. I like to get through and say hello and get through as many of your comments as I can. Elliot, first super chat of the night, said, hope you're doing well. I'm good, thank you, dude. I hope you are as well. B1 said, I'm sure Barca is his dream, Craig. It could be. It could absolutely be that. You're right, mate. It could be that GINI Wijnaldum sat down with his family and said, you know what, we've had a great 5 years in Liverpool, enjoyed my time in Newcastle before that, played in Holland, let's go over now and try our hand in Spain, live in the sunshine, live in the beautiful city, and play for a good football club. That could absolutely be the case, but that's not the way he was portraying it in the last few days when he was speaking. He said that he'd love to stay at the club for years and years and win many more trophies, but that's not an option for him. So I would like to think that that's the case, what you've said, mate. I'd love to say that it's just that he wants another move with his family, and that would be sound. I think we'd all be happy enough with that, but certainly not the narrative that's coming out anyway. Mbappe said, mate, I wish I had something to say to you about Mbappe, other than the PSG president has come out today, and his quotes are out there for anyone who wants to go and research them, to say that he 100% believes that Kylian Mbappe will stay at Paris Saint-Germain. I don't know how he's getting so confident about this, a player that still hasn't signed an extension. But it could be a case of nobody has the money for Mbappe. But, you know, I still don't understand why Mbappe would sign on for another year when he knows in a year's time he's free to walk away and get an ungodly amount of money elsewhere. So it remains to be seen what happens with Kylian Mbappe. We will, of course, keep an eye on it as the season goes on. But, you know, it's very unlikely as things stand. Hey Craig, how's your day been? Very stressful, my man, very stressful. I thought it was going to be a quiet day, but as always, when you expect a quiet day, sometimes it ends up being a mad day, and it was a bit of a headache, but it's all been resolved, thankfully. What else have we got? Awar for 22 million, let's go, said Safi Singh. You're not going to get much of an argument from me, dude. And, you know, I was looking at this scenario today, because if we're looking at Houssem Aouar, we're clearly looking at a number 10 style player, which we haven't really had since, well, we haven't really played. We could say that GINI is sort of a 10, at least for Holland, but certainly not the way we've deployed him at Liverpool. But you look at the links today, and you said Houssem Aouar there, who's a very talented player. You also see the links from the guy from Lisbon, Goncalves, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, the guy who went in to replace Bruno. And there seems to be some serious interest there, and that would imply that Jurgen Klopp wants to shake things up a little bit, if that is of course true, and I don't know if it is or isn't, but the numbers that guy has put up, that young guy, are phenomenal this season. I think he scored 11 with his right foot, 8 with his left foot, and a few assists as well, but he also has 4 years left on a Sporting Lisbon contract, and they've gone and won the league this season. They'll be in the Champions League. Will they want to lose another star midfielder after they've recently just lost Bruno Fernandes to Manchester United? I don't know. But we will be signing a midfielder. It's just a matter of, will it be an 8 or will it be somebody who maybe plays a bit more on the front foot? If I was to stick money on it, and I've said this for the last few days, I would be edging towards Bissouma from Brighton, and I think he is the priority. I think you'll probably see that's the next transfer that starts to be spoken about in the media. Konate's done and dusted. I've been saying that to you guys for weeks. And look, it's not just me. It's an open secret. Everybody knows it. That medical, which I didn't know, to be fair, I'm not going to claim any knowledge of this one, but that medical has actually taken place already. Now, as much as I had on this, I didn't know that it had taken place. And few people believe it actually took place in England. I haven't got a clue. But it's great news. It's great to see Fabrizio Romano confirm it today, and great to know that it'll be around 35 million euro, which is a very, very reasonable amount of money for someone that talented. Mbappe got his vaccine before he signs for Liverpool. Well, I would say I've seen the picture of Mbappe getting his vaccination, which is great. I hope that it will urge other people to go and get their vaccinations if at all possible. As you know, I've got my first one. I've got my second one on the 12th of June. So hopefully a week after then I should be fully vaccinated. So that's great. But I wouldn't say he's getting his vaccine just to come to Liverpool. I'd say he's getting it ahead of the Euros and just for health reasons like everybody else. What do I think about Origi, says Cosmo YouTube. I don't want to be overly harsh on Divock. I mean, he's had some amazing moments for us, but I think it's fair to say that he hasn't lived up to, I won't say the hype, but those big moments have been an anomaly rather than a regular occurrence. And to me this season, when I'd seen him be given a chance, he certainly didn't grasp it with both hands. And I think he should move on for his own good and, of course, to free up some money and a squad place for us. But, you know, it'll have to be the right move for him. He didn't get into the Belgium squad for the Euros, which, while not surprising, I'm sure will still have disappointed Divock Origi because, you know, when you see the likes of Simon Mignolet in there as a backup keeper and you see Christian Benteke getting picked, I mean, Divock obviously going to be disappointed, but you would hope that the response from him would be to want to go and prove himself so he's in the squad for the next one. Great to hear you're staying, Craig. Thank you to Sabrina, said Joanne. Yeah, great news yesterday, Joanne. I thought it was going to take a few weeks of wrangling there with the missus, but no, once I explained to her the subscriber only chat option and promised that I wouldn't bite on trolling comments as much, that you know, she just wants what's best for us, all of us. She just wants as least stressful a life as possible, Joanne, which I have to understand and appreciate, of course. And my wife and my kids are always at the forefront of everything that I do and think about. So yeah, I'm happy as well. But thank you. Craig, do you rate James Maddison as a footballer in a game? Absolutely, but, and I don't want to feel like I'm speaking out of turn here, but I think it's fairly known that he can be a bit of a handful, to say the least. Which makes me think that as good as he is, I don't think he'll. I question whether he'll make a move to a real elite club. Not that Leicester aren't a very, very good club, they are. But I don't know if we'll ever see him at a Liverpool, a City, a Chelsea, a United. Unless he settles down a little bit, is probably the phrase I'm best to use there. Thanks for answering. You made my day. My pleasure, buddy. I'll try and get through as many as I can. Will I be doing the Euros? Yes, 100%, George. We're going to be doing... This is the plan. It'll be confirmed tomorrow when we sit down and talk with Boyle. But as far as I'm aware, we're going to be doing the England games on Anfield Agenda and some other games on Mundo Sporto. I think that's the case. I'll confirm that in the next 24 hours or so. But 100% will be in the Euros. Yes, definitely. Craig, are you active on Twitter? No, I deleted my account about 10 days ago, maybe a little bit longer. The Anfield Agenda account is of course there, mate, but I'm not on there personally. I'm trying to concentrate a little bit more on TikTok these days because I love the idea of a little 1 minute video on TikTok. So yeah, check out our TikTok account as well, Anfield Agenda. I think we've just gone past 20,000, which is class. Mateus Pereira, West Brom. Good shout that, mate. Who was it again? Foshishan. Excuse me if I've mispronounced that, my man. Yeah, very good player, Pereira from West Brom, no doubt about it. And I'm sure that there will be a fair few clubs, maybe bottom half of Premier League table clubs, but I think he will probably get a few options. I don't know what his West Brom contract is. I don't know if there's a relegation clause, but he's definitely a talent. There's no denying that. There's always some great players, isn't there, in the relegated clubs? And sure, we know only too well that Liverpool have benefited from pinching some relegated players over the years. Do I think Coutinho might come back to Liverpool? No, 100% not, mate. So, look, we all look back at Felipe Coutinho's time in a Liverpool jersey positively. How could you not? He was brilliant. But at the same time, ask yourself, what has he done since he left Liverpool? And, the answer is he's failed to nail down a place in Bayern Munich and Barcelona's teams. And, I can't say why because I don't know, but he definitely hasn't made us look foolish for selling him. So I wouldn't take him back personally, but, I can only speak for me. Ryan Gravenberch in midfield, good shout, and somebody whose name I haven't heard mentioned in a while. Rise Synergy, Ajax youngster of course, and a talent no doubt. And there seems to be an ungodly amount of 18, 19-year-old talented midfielders doing the rounds at the minute. But I've not seen anything recently to suggest. Now, of course, look, I'm just on here talking from the articles I've read and the people I spoke to. I'm not the font of knowledge for all things transfers. I just get excited about them like all of you guys do because it is pretty exciting, isn't it? Let's be honest. Would I take Basuma in a heartbeat, George Quinn? In a heartbeat, mate. He'd be my first choice, actually, to come in and replace GINI. But I do want to revisit something that you guys brought up to me yesterday, and that was around Ruben Neves from I was going to say Porto there. God, Craig, he's been at Wolves a long time. At Wolves, it seems like, if reports are to be believed, that Wolves are willing to cash in on he's gone. Craig, get your shit together here, fella. On Ruben Neves, and 35 million seems to be the number that they take because they want apparently to rebuild a little bit, having lost Nuno, and they see him as an option to bring in a decent chunk of money. I don't see the sense of Liverpool signing him because, unless you're not going to get Basuma, by the way. If you get Basuma, no sense for Neves for me. If you don't get Basuma and you want Neves, I can understand it, but again, you're looking at a rather deep-lying midfielder there, somebody who won't be getting on the front foot like Houssem Aouar or that Goncalves or whatever that gentleman's name is from Sporting Lisbon. Neves for a Chamberlain swap. I don't see the sense of that for them. If their plan is to free up cash to rebuild, it doesn't make much sense that they'd take an older player there in Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain with a bit of an iffy injury record, and even some cash. Again, just guesswork, buddy. We need a Cavani, said Brian. I know where you're going with this, Brian, and you're probably looking across to his Uruguayan teammate, but based on what Luis Suarez has said, and maybe you have another shout there, Brian, I don't know, but Luis Suarez certainly looks like he wants to stay at Atleti. Who are you supporting in the Euros? Not really supporting anyone, Lennon. I'm just looking forward to a good tournament, buddy, and watching some of the best footballers in Europe playing international football. So I don't really, Ireland aren't in it, so I won't really be supporting anybody. Craig, sorry to ask, but did the dude say sorry to you? No. And I don't want to address it any further, mate. As I said before, I probably shouldn't have even brought that up as much during the stream. I'll deal with that in private. But no is the answer. Will Kabak stay? Very good question, Jan. And the answer is looking like no. And to me, that's an unfortunate no, because I would absolutely like to sign Ozan Kabak. But I want to put that into context, I suppose. Konate, I think we're all in agreement on. It's going to happen. And I'd rather see us sign Ozan Kabak than keep Joe Matip. Now, of course, it's easy for me to say that. It's a lot harder to move Joe Matip on, particularly when he just signed a new deal last year. He's probably on relatively high wages and he's the wrong side of 30, who's injury prone. So it's easy for me to sit here and say that, but it's a lot harder for the club to potentially do it. Now, there's been a couple of things to suggest that Leipzig and a couple of other clubs may be interested in Ozan Kabak. So it looks like, as things stand, according to Fabrizio Romano and other journalists, that Liverpool have no intention at the minute of triggering that £18 million option that we have on Ozan Kabak. That option is there until, I think, the 1st of June. Now, again, if I'm wrong on that, I apologise, but I know it's June at some point. What about Suarez? He's going to stay at Atleti, according to himself. Now, that's, his own words. Will I be doing watch-alongs during the Euros? Yeah, 100%. Right, what else we got? What's Konate's injury record like? So, he's had 3 major spells out over the past year or so, but they've all been related to the same injury. It seems like he was brought back a little bit too soon, and that caused his injury record to stagger and go out a little bit. Now, he's also had, I think, an ankle injury this year, which isn't related to the major issue, but I wouldn't go as far as to say that he's injury prone, but he has had an injury that kept him out for 3 separate spaces because of the way the rehab went. I don't want to say it's worrying, because I find it very hard to say anybody who's 21 years of age is injury prone, but I understand why people are worried, because you look at Joe Gomez's situation, you see a quality defender there, but a defender whose body doesn't seem to be able to live up to the rigours of international, Premier League, European competition and all the games that entails, and people are probably worrying that with Konate we might have a French version of Joe Gomez. But I like to think of the good times with Joe Gomez, and I'm an eternal optimist, and I maybe it's just because he seems like a damn nice lad, but I want Joe to succeed, and I think Konate, at the price point we're getting him at, the medical will be conducted. Of course, the Liverpool will have the best people possible looking at the injury record and the medical files, and they'll do all the tests that they need to do, or at least, they will have done all the tests that they need to do. So I hope for the best, like everybody else, but nothing is. I can't sit here in good conscience and say that Konate is going to come in and never be injured. None of us can predict that. Is Konate completely done? Well, everything except triggering and paying that release clause is done. That's the best I can say. But the club know what they have to do. The player's in agreement to sign until 2026, so a 5-year deal. Wages agreed, agent stuff agreed, medical taking place. It's just a matter of either Liverpool getting Leipzig to agree to a different structure of the payment, or Leipzig saying, no, if you want them, it's €35 million, go and lodge all the money, and then, you do what you need to do. So I'm sure it'll be resolved, and I don't think it'll take too long. I think the player and the club will want it done as soon as possible. So I'd imagine an announcement within a week, to be honest, I would guess. Excuse me. Griezmann, said Justin Drohan. Barca want to free up money. Griezmann is a player who's, again, the wrong side of the 30, and they've brought in Aguero. So it's no surprise that you see Antoine Griezmann's name being thrown around as a potential departure from Barcelona. Why would Liverpool sign him? Even at €50 million, it just doesn't make any sense. I think his best years are behind him. That's just my own opinion. And I'd rather us go and spend that money on a talented, hungry youngster like Daka or Daniel Malin or somebody like that. Owen Murphy said, I think we buy Sancho, sell Firmino, play Salah at striker. I have no problem playing Mo Salah through the centre, mate. I think I said it towards the end of last season as well. I think he's definitely capable of reinventing himself a little bit. And we've seen that with Cristiano Ronaldo. We've seen that with Lionel Messi. That the older they get, they reinvent themselves a bit. And maybe Mo will end up as a striker. He certainly has a nose for goals. So, it's difficult this Owen, because a few weeks ago, I probably would have agreed with you, dude. But I've seen flashes in Bobby again recently, and I'm sure you guys have noticed it as well. He's getting back to himself. The end of the season, he was playing, still making the same frustrating mistakes at times with passes, but certainly seemed to have a bit more swagger back about him. So I'm greedy, mate. I want us to add to what we have and move on the fringe players rather than having to move on an established player. Because I think there's another 2 or 3 years left in these guys. I really, really do. But, I suppose it'll all come down to the finances, won't it? Somebody said super chat from Elliot. Did I miss one? Let me scroll back up. I apologise if I did. What would your top 3 signings be? I think that's the one. I can't actually see who sent it, but I think that's the one from Elliot. So it would be Bissouma, Konate, and... Well, look, it would be Kylian Mbappe, but if we're being realistic, I'd like us to be in the conversation for Sancho. I would, but I still think that United would hold the advantage in that conversation because of the groundwork they've put in before. But some people that are a lot better placed than me that I've spoken to, who have good contacts, are quite bullish about our interest in Jadon Sancho. And that excites me a little bit, but I'm afraid to get too excited about it, to be honest with you, because the last thing we as Liverpool fans want to do is sit here and get really excited about the prospect of Jadon Sancho, start talking about him in positive light, and then he goes to United and we're all sitting here kind of going, well, we should have known that was going to happen. But look, what I will say is I want us to be in that conversation. We should be in that conversation, and he's certainly the calibre of player in the right age bracket, with the right background, doing the right numbers, that would make sense to our owners. How we come up with the money, therein lies the age-old argument where we're all frustrated at the lack of spending from the club, and I'm as frustrated as anybody that we seem to just keep getting excuses every year. It's a pandemic, or we're saving up for the future. I mean, we heard the articles from many people around Liverpool, them being briefed that Liverpool had put aside money in case a generational talent became available. Well, motherfuckers, there's a load of generational talents available this summer. Haaland's there, Mbappe's there, Sancho's there, so Harry Kane's available. Not that I'm suggesting we'll be in for Kane, but if the MO was to look for a generational talent, then there's enough of them around right now that are available this summer, and you stop talking about it and start acting like a big club, in my opinion, because we can't sit on our hands this summer. We can't keep hoping that Jurgen Klopp and Michael Edwards pull rabbits out of the hat, because our recruitment has been pretty damn good, to be fair. But in a summer where I would suggest Kane will end up somewhere in Manchester, Sancho will probably end up in the Premier League. Harry Kane, as I've said, Sancho, who else? I don't think Haaland will end up in the Premier League. I really think he'll end up in Spain eventually. So with all those moves happening, we can't afford to sit on our hands and let clubs who already finished above us this season, or a club in Chelsea's hands that you want to bring in a striker, maybe Lukaku, we can't just sit still. We have to start acting like a big club at some point, and it's frustrating. It really is frustrating, because we hear all these great things about Liverpool have done really well on the marketing side. Liverpool have done really well in commercial partnerships. Liverpool have brought in 100 million from this. Liverpool have won the Champions League. La 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 la. But there's always a but, isn't there? Always a but after it. They did this, but COVID. They did this, but high wages. They did this, but owners. Just get something done. Just give the manager the tools that he needs to continue to be successful. None of us, I think, are being unrealistic in our expectations. I think we understand that we're not going to go out and sign Haaland, Mbappe, Sancho and Harry Kane, but we should be definitely in the conversation for one of them. Please don't leave, Craig. I'm not leaving, mate. That's been confirmed the other day. My missus said go ahead, so going ahead. I feel bad for Kabak, said Yusuf. It's frustrating, but I would rather it happen now than we sign Ozan Kabak. And I mean, he's had 2 injury spells, I think. I could be wrong on that, but I think I remember 2 since we've signed him. So if we sign him long term and he has some more, then we're back to space 1, aren't we? So, but then again, you could make that argument around Konate, so I get where you're all coming from. What do I think about Dembele? Are we talking about Ousmane Dembele of Barcelona? In which case, I think he's a very good footballer. Kind of has a touch of the James Maddison issues around him with regards to his attitude. At least that's what's been reported. But I can see the likes of Barca and Real trying to move on the aging players, the Modric's, the Ramos's, the Griezmann's in Barca's case. I can't see them wanting to let go of the younger players who they can afford to give him another year or two too. But I think I might be wrong on that actually, because I think maybe Dembele's contract is running down a bit. How about Reina coming to Liverpool? If it's Gio Reyna, I'd be all for it. And I know Jurgen Klopp has certainly had his scouts keeping an eye on Gio Reyna of Borussia Dortmund. And as we've seen, Klopp hasn't gone back to Dortmund for anybody since he left. So we all hope that maybe he opens his little black book this summer and gets out his Dortmund contracts and, talks about Sancho. But Gio Reyna is a great shout and somebody who is a real exciting prospect, and definitely somebody who I could see Klopp making a move for at some point. What have we got? How about Reyna? I've done that one. If City get Kane, it won't matter what the other clubs do. It's worrying, Dean. I won't lie to you, fella. I agree with you. If Manchester City get Kane with De Bruyne whipping balls into him, it is defo worrying. But everybody can only field 11 players. And Kane does tend to have a couple of spells at important points of the season where he picks up a knock. But I'm not going to sit here and say otherwise, mate. It would definitely be worrying. Any news on Mo Salah's contract, said Yusuf. No, mate, not at the minute. So there's a load of talk that Alisson will be getting a new deal. There's some people believe actually that deal has already been agreed and signed. I can't go that far, but the next contracts look like it's going to be Van Dijk and Fabinho. And I'm just give Mo what he wants. I think it's fair. Just give the man what he wants. Nobody wants him to leave. Jeremy Doku, that's a blast from the past, mate. I don't remember anything new on Jeremy Doku. Certainly somebody whose name was mentioned 18 months ago or a year ago, but I don't know, is he still a Anderlecht or in Belgium? I can't remember where he was. We should go after Ivan Toney, said Bobby. Look, he's done record numbers in the Championship, as I've said before, but are we going to make the gamble? I mean, you could make a good point that we could have taken a punt on Ollie Watkins because he's had a good season at Aston Villa, but I don't see us being the ones to take a punt on Ivan Toney. And then look, he could come up with Brentford if they get to the playoff final and stay there, but somebody should take a punt on the lad because I think he deserves to be playing in the Premier League. I just don't know if it's with us. Craig, keep up the content, love the good work, love from Mead. What's your thoughts on Iheanacho? I'll only ever think one thing when I think of Iheanacho, and that's the miss. The miss that I am still 100% convinced he missed on purpose, and I don't think he's that good, if I'm being honest with you. I know he had a good patch this season for Leicester, but I don't think he'll ever be another Jamie Vardy, for example, with the amount of goals he'll score. Ruben Neves, we've already gone through that one earlier on. Wolves looking to maybe move him on to free up some cash for a rebuild. Uwar, I've not seen anything new on, mate, but I'm certainly in the camp that would love Houssem Uwar, particularly if it's at a knockdown price, which I can't believe he's still so young, by the way. I thought he was at least 24 at this point, but he's still 22, I think. Lewandowski, well, we're not going to sign Robert Lewandowski, mate. I mean, let's be honest about it. He either stays at Bayern Munich or will probably move to a slower paced league. The man's a goal scoring machine, but we're not going to sign Robert Lewandowski. Would I swap Salah for Haaland? What's the point in even asking me that question, to be fair, because Mohamed Salah's not going to go and want to play for Dortmund, is he? And Dortmund aren't going to want to pay Mohamed Salah's wages, so it's kind of a nothing question, if you get where I'm coming from. I don't mean that to be rude, I really don't, but it's kind of just plucking names out your arse and just asking a question. What do we got? What do I think about Hadara from Leipzig? There's some alright players at Leipzig. I mean, a lot of people have been asking lately about what's the guy's name from Leipzig again? Who's in the contract? Not Forsberg, the other guy. I can't think of his name at the minute. Another guy from Leipzig, but I think his agent's been putting his name around more than we've been linked with him, and I can't for the life of me now think of who the hell it was. I'm sure someone's going to bail me out in the chat now in a second. Leipzig are the new Southampton. There you go. No, not Nkunku. Sabitzer, yes, Sabitzer. That was the guy. Yeah, his agent's been throwing his name around quite a bit. He had been linked with us for a little bit, but I've not seen anything to suggest that we're genuinely interested. But then again, as I keep saying, in football it's mad because nobody knew we were interested in Fabinho, nobody knew we were interested in Diogo Jota, and then boom, it was done. What else have we got? I'd swap Minamino and Origi for Ings. So would I, but again, I don't know what way Southampton would look at that, but I would take Danny Ings back in a heartbeat, absolutely. What did Iheanacho miss? You honestly asking me that as a Liverpool fan, what Iheanacho missed? Yeah, it's just go back and have a look at the season that we finished second to Manchester City. I've had a rough day in school. I'm sorry to hear that, mate. I hope you have a better day tomorrow. Any update on Sporting midfielder? I touched on it earlier on. He still has 4 years left on his contract at Lisbon. And I don't know if they'd be willing to sell him. But his numbers look really good. And he certainly looks like a good talent. And has been linked to us. Kesse of AC Milan's not coming, not happening. Never even really been linked to the club. Plus AC Milan have just gotten back into the Champions League after 7 years out of it. They've extended Ibrahimovic's contract. They've got stuff around Donnarumma they want to tie up, excuse me. So yeah, no, there's nothing in Frank Kessie. Griezmann, not going to happen. He's shy. Let's be honest about it. He's nowhere near good enough. I mean, I know people are going, there's a load of fanboys out there who are going to say, he's won the World Cup. But look at his stats at Barcelona. And I watch Barcelona nearly every single week. And Griezmann is just not what we need. In my humble opinion. Konate is injury prone. He's not injury prone, William. I've explained it all to you, mate. If you look into his injury record, which has been broken down by some really good journalists and explained, it was one major injury that he was rushed back too early from. And of course, there are other injuries like any player, but if you're talking about serious time out missing, it's all down to one. Koulibaly's never in a million years coming to Liverpool. Wasn't coming 2 years ago, wasn't coming last year, and won't be coming next year either. Napoli shit the bed on the last day of the season and cost themselves Champions League football. And Koulibaly may move on somewhere, but it ain't going to be to Liverpool. We're going to sign Konate. Tielemans, again, I've said this loads of times, I don't think we'll be going to Leicester for anybody because they'll demand too much money and they'll get it from, they usually get what they ask for at Leicester because they're not a club that are in financial need to sell. Now, I don't know if Tielemans is going to be disappointed that they didn't get Champions League football and if he may try and engineer a move away, but I don't think it'll be to us. Although, I'm also divided on whether he's good enough or not, but that's just my opinion. Neuhaus, again, Kieran, I wish I had more information around the guy from Borussia Mönchengladbach, but in all honesty, it kind of floated up around a month ago, did the headlines in the newspapers, and kind of went away again, and it's gone quiet. Now, that doesn't mean that the club haven't worked on something behind the scenes, and maybe they're better at keeping that a secret than other deals, but I've not been told that about Neuhaus, or not read anything new about him. What have we got? Kovacic, or Kubo. Well, why would we want Mateo Kovacic? Kubo, I understand, but isn't he still owned by Barca or Real? I can't remember because he swapped between them two clubs. I can't remember which one he's owned by. Depay will, I don't know where he'll go. Is he still going to go to Barcelona? I don't know, but he won't be coming to Liverpool, that's for sure. Renato Sanchez, that could be a surprise one. I do get the feeling that Klopp has been keeping an eye on Renato Sanchez. Because it's a very odd name to be mentioned to Liverpool for no reason. And maybe Klopp feels like there's a bargain to be had there because, he came through as a youngster at Benfica and was rightly heralded as an amazing talent. Went to Bayern Munich, didn't work out, spent some time at Swansea, but has gone back, in fairness to him, knuckled down with Lille and been part of a title-winning season there. Which is brilliant if you consider, the financial behemoth they're up against in Paris Saint-Germain. So he's definitely got something about him. Now, I'm going to be entirely honest and say I haven't watched much of Lille this season, but it's certainly an interesting one, isn't it, when you see his name being mentioned. What are your thoughts on De Paul being linked with Liverpool? Right, so Rodrigo De Paul nearly signed for Leeds last year. Didn't happen. Went back, knuckled down to Udinese, put in another good season. I told you guys a few weeks back that AC Milan had, in the space of a week, basically declared their interest, then pulled away their interest, and now apparently they're back at the table again. So I would suggest he's most likely to end up at AC Milan. He's changed agents recently as well. I think it's Mino Raiola that he's working with now. And yeah, I always get nervous around transfers coming from Italy, but I think he'll stay in Italy. That's my gut feeling on it from, the few bits and pieces that I've read. But definitely a very talented player. Would I take Jonathan David from Lille? No. No, I wouldn't. I've watched a few bits and pieces of Jonathan David and Yilmaz just for the laugh, because Yilmaz is just... I like Yilmaz for some reason. Not as a player. I'm not saying he's good enough for him, but not for me. Again, I'm a little bit... I have to admit, I'm a bit biased about players from certain leagues. And I look at the French league at times, and unless a player's absolutely stand out, I just think he won't cut it. But I think Aouar could be the exception to that, because he is genuinely a super talent, I think. Bellingham's not gone anywhere this summer. Doesn't matter how much money's put down on the table from any club. Borussia Dortmund are not selling. They might sell Haaland, they may sell Sancho, but Jude Bellingham at 17 years of age is definitely part of the plans for the next season. And they will probably free up enough money from selling on maybe Haaland and Sancho and possibly one or two others that they won't even have to entertain Jude Bellingham, because they know the money for Jude Bellingham is going to be there in a year or two without any doubt. I don't know who that guy from Stuttgart is, mate. Sorry, I've no idea who he is. Samuel Chukwueze, Kieran, was again linked recently in the media. But ask yourself this, really, is he good enough? Because from what I've seen of Chukwueze, he isn't. Kind of reminds me of when Iñaki Williams broke through in the Spanish league. Chukwueze has all the raw ingredients, but I've not seen enough. Now, you'll probably get to see him yourself tomorrow if you're going to watch the watch-along of the Villarreal United game in the Europa League final, or at least maybe you watch the game itself. Have a look yourself and see what you think of him, because to me, I just don't see it. I don't see it consistently enough. I'd much rather we went and tried to get somebody like, what's his face from Newcastle, Alan Maxima, somebody like that. Neto or Rafinha. I would like both of them. I think they're both good players. I think I like the bite and the fight that's in Neto, and I like the skill level of Rafinha, although Neto's not too shabby either. And if Wolves are looking for a rebuild, maybe Neto could be available, but I think City had been linked as well with Rafinha at one point. But yeah, I'd take them. I'd take either of them, to be honest. I'd probably side towards Rafinha a little bit more. Let's talk about Ragnar Klavan. Botman. Again, Sven Botman's name was thrown around, but we're signing Konate, so I think we can put the centre-back stuff to bed. Bastoni's name was thrown around again a little bit the other day, but I can't see it happening. Has Konate officially signed? No. If he'd officially signed, you'd see images of Konate holding up a Liverpool shirt. It's done. I can't say anything else other than it's done. It's been reported widely that it's done. But, I suppose if you want to wait, just wait for the club to announce it, and I'm sure it'll happen soon enough. But, until he's holding a Liverpool shirt with a signed contract, then it's not happening. But all that's waiting to happen there is Liverpool to trigger the release clause. What about Kabak? It looks like Kabak's going to be... Well, I don't know if he'll go back to Schalke or not, but it looks like Liverpool won't be taking up the option. At least that's what's been reported in the media today, which is a shame for me, because I agree with somebody earlier on in the chat who said he was a little bit unlucky with what happened at Liverpool, and I get where that person's coming from. And I would take up the option personally at 18 million and do my best to move on Joel Matip, because as good as Joel Matip is, and I don't doubt his talent, we can't afford to carry any more injury-prone players, and he is injury-prone. If it's not a little muscle, it's a strain. It's always something. Andre Silva is again another one that I don't believe will be coming to Liverpool. Goalkeepers. Yeah, look, goalkeepers. That's a really good point. So you've all probably seen the horror news over the past few days that took me aback, I have to say, that apparently Liverpool had offered Adrian a contract extension, which for the life of me I don't know why, but apparently he wants to go back to Spain. He was probably looking like he was going to sign for who was it again, Betis, before we went in for him, but I hope he moves on, because we need a better number 2, and the plan that I've been told for Caoimhín Kelleher is that he will go out on loan. So if he does go out on loan, and Adrian does move on, then yeah, we're going to probably have to go out there and bring in another backup goalkeeper, but it has to be somebody that's at least 75% as good as Alisson, or else what's the point? We might as well keep Creevy and Kelleher. Salah extension, I hope so, mate, but I've not got any news on it, unfortunately. I'm like all of you guys, I'm sitting around hoping and praying that we get news on Mohamed Salah and that Liverpool will sign up somebody that we badly need to keep at the club. What else have we got? Hasn't Dean Jones said Sancho wants United? I don't know. Has he? I haven't got a clue, mate. I'm not saying he has or hasn't. But I've also not seen anything to say. I mean, it's difficult because I do agree with you. I do think United are probably the favourites for Sancho, but I've not been told or seen anything to say that he wants United. Because if you think about it from his point of view, if he publicly comes out and lets that be known and Dortmund and United can't agree a deal like they couldn't before, then it kind of puts Sancho in a bit of an awkward position. So I don't know if it's true or not. Kikir is, of course, the Trabzonspor goalkeeper, Wesley, who we've been linked with for at least 4 windows now that I can remember. Actually, last year, Gazzaniga is shite, by the way. Anthony said we should sign Gazzaniga. He's awful. He's god-awful. He's nowhere near good enough. But to get back to Ergin Kikir, I remember reading a piece that even suggested his former manager said that Kikir had told him that he was going to join Liverpool. But then it all went really quiet. So, yeah, wait and see. I mean, he's definitely the longest linked goalkeeper to us, but Gazzaniga, really? He's awful, mate. Awful. He was Spurs' backup goalkeeper. Somebody saying, who is he? Exactly. Would I have Firmino plus cash for Sancho? Again, though, it's a bit of a pointless question because Firmino doesn't want to go and play for Dortmund. Dortmund couldn't afford Firmino's wages. So none of it makes any sense. It's just hypothetical stuff that, we're all just wasting our time with. Now, if you're asking me, would we sell Firmino and go and get Jadon Sancho, then I would hope the answer is still no, because I don't want us to sell anyone. Would I like Sancho? Absolutely. But I'm sick, and I'm sure you are as well, of Liverpool being a club that has to sell to buy. It's just a pain in the arse. Every single time we have good players, it seems to be, if we want another good player, we've got to go and sell one of the other players that we've already spent time getting relatively cheap and building up. And I understand that is a sustainable business model, but it's not the playing field that we're on right now, because clubs out there like Chelsea and Manchester City and United are going to spend money and we have to match them, otherwise we're just going to fall away. We've gone through Ruben Neves a couple of times. Thoughts on Nat Phillips? Thoughts on Nat Phillips. It's a really difficult one because my heart says to me that Nat Phillips isn't good enough ultimately at this level. Now, he played a huge part in leading us to Champions League football and definitely stepped up and upped his game and has definitely won over Jurgen Klopp with his performances and the calibre of his character and stuff like that. But I'd have Nat Phillips as a 5th choice centre back, but I definitely wouldn't like him to be the 4th choice. I mean, if he wants to stay and the club can agree deal with him a 5th choice, sound, no problem. But it's a tough one. It really is, because he's done really well this season, but he is limited in what he can do. But then again, he's also shown that he's willing to learn and can improve. So maybe I'm being a bit harsh here. I don't know. Thoughts on Thiago? He's been excellent. As the season's gone on, he really has played a big part in our push for Champions League, particularly the last 4 or 5 games. I think Thiago has really shown what he's all about. Vinicius Jr.'s not coming to Liverpool, mate. Real aren't selling him. Thoughts on Thiago? I've already done that. I'd keep Phillips. He's young. He's 24, I think. He's not that young, but I get where you're coming from. Like, I don't want this to sound like I don't want Nat Phillips. I want Nat Phillips at a certain level, if that makes sense. Like, if we have Matip, Van Dijk, Gomez, Konate, and Phillips, I'm alright with that. But I don't want, let's say we move Matip on, I don't want Phillips to come in and us still having to rely on another youngster on top of him. I hope that makes sense. Thoughts on Hazard, 42 million. Look, I don't know how many times I have to say that Eden Hazard is an overhyped fucking... I don't want to even say it anymore because I give myself a headache saying it, but Hazard's not good enough. He's not consistent enough. He's flatters to deceive. He shows up overweight for pre-season. He has issues with training apparently. And again, he went 2 entire years without scoring a goal. 2 years! Like 1 year periods, twice. Imagine any of our forwards did that. You wouldn't be able to move in the media for the headlines. And I think it's really unfair when people compare him favourably to Mohamed Salah. It's just unconfirmed bias in my head. It's nonsense. It really is nonsense, and it doesn't give Mohamed Salah the credit he deserves. Gigi Buffon is a backup. The dude is 3 years older than me, mate. 3 years. I can barely get out of bed in the mornings with a sore back, and Gigi Buffon's 42. So, as much as he's a legend, and I love Buffon, I mean, no, just no. Nicola Barret is a great show, and somebody who Liverpool have been linked with, and somebody who I would not mind one bit, to be honest with you. He's somebody that I think I can look past my bias of a certain league, because I really do think Barret is a class act. But again, with Inter winning Serie A and getting back into the Champions League, I don't know what their situation is. They're probably bracing themselves for interest in Lautaro Martinez and Romelu Lukaku, so I don't know if they'd be willing to move on Barret as well. But he is definitely class. Thoughts on Patson Daka? That he's very good, and that I believe the plan is that Jesse Marsch wants to take him to Leipzig with him from Salzburg, but if the right offer comes in, maybe they'd be willing to sell. I'm actually quite surprised how quiet it has been around Daniel Malin and Patson Daka, but somebody in our Discord group did say to me today that they'd read a few articles saying that Liverpool were quite far along in conversations around Daniel Malin of PSV Eindhoven. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but again, it makes sense from a point of view of the profile of player that we'd be looking at. Apparently Bale is linked to Liverpool. The fact that I even have to waste my fucking time acknowledging that ridiculous comment. If you think Gareth Bale signing for Liverpool, mate, then order the new shirt and get Bale on the back of it. That's all I'm going to say to you, because it's fucking nonsense, let's be honest with you. There's no way in God's green earth Liverpool are signing one of the most injury prone players in world football now, who was on an astronomical amount of wages at Real Madrid. It's just not going to happen. Would I take Sam Johnson as backup? Yes, I would. I definitely would, mate. I think he's not the finished article, but the problem with somebody like that is, he's probably going to want to go and play week in and week out to further his own career, which is always the difficult thing with a goalkeeper, isn't it? He's a good keeper. So is Queeveen, though. And these are the problems. So you either go for somebody who's in their mid-30s who doesn't mind playing every so often, but then you question in your own head, is this the right calibre of player? Because if they're happy to sit on a bench, is that the right mentality? So it's very difficult when you're talking about the goalkeeper situation, because it takes a special kind of mindset to come in and, one, know that you'll play very limited games, and two, more importantly, be prepared for when those chances arrive. So it's a very difficult one, the goalkeepers one. And I do have sympathy with all clubs around this scenario. But that being said, you look at United's depth of goalkeepers, and you think it is possible. Certainly they managed to keep 2-3 goalkeepers happy there. They had Henderson, Romero and De Gea. Albeit, okay, there maybe is a little bit of fuss now around De Gea and Henderson, but they've kept them happy for a few years anyway with regards to Romero, who's a good backup keeper. Barnes or Maddison from Leicester? I'd rather Harvey Barnes. Very unfortunate for him that he picked up that injury. Would I take Darren Randolph as backup? No. God, no. Not another former West Ham keeper as backup, no. Thoughts on Calvin Phillips? Very good player, but he's a Leeds United player and will stay there, I think. Right, ladies and gents, tomorrow, here's what's happening. So I'm going to be in a watch along of the Europa League final over in Mundo Sporto. We'll be starting at 7:40, so 20 minutes before kick-off. So I hope you can join me for that one over there. Probably going to do a news show a little bit earlier in the day tomorrow on Anfield Agenda, maybe about 7 o'clock or so, but make sure you've got the old notifications turned on. Thursday, back to normal then. And look, we're going to be putting out much more content on the likes of TikTok and Instagram. So if you haven't already given us a follow on there, please do. It's just Anfield Agenda. And yeah, again, really happy that I'm going to be here for the season ahead. Thank you to all of you guys for helping in the decision, because you all did play a massive part. I promise you. I'll be showing my wife some of the lovely emails and messages that were sent our way. And, you know, she's a big softie like me, and I think she really appreciates the kind words from everybody, and it certainly helped in the decision making process with her and the family. So thank you for that, and I will see you guys tomorrow. It's been a lovely evening as always. I hope that you're all well. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, drop a like on the video. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, lots of love, and be well. And if you're watching this later on, anything I forgot about and you want me to talk about tomorrow, just lash it in the chat, and I promise you I'll do my best to get to it.